heads of African Union organs and regional economic communities and mechanisms, I also recognize the presence of our partners, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the press, and all distinguished delegates. All protocols observed. May I now kindly call the
Thank you, Your Excellency. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may I humbly call all of you to rise for the African Union Anthem. Thank you. Your Excellency Muhammad Wil Sheikh Al Ghazwani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and Chairperson of the African Union. Your Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Your Excellencies, heads of states and governments of African Union member states. Your Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Your Excellency Mr. Mahmoud Abbas Abu Mazin, President of the State of Palestine. Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. Your Excellency Maya Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados. Your Excellencies, distinguished former presidents here present, Honorable Fairest Ladies here present, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellency Dr. Monique Nzanza Baganwa, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellencies, Commissioners, and all the leadership of the Commission, Excellencies, Ambassadors, members of the Permanent Representatives Committee, Your Excellency Mina Wamakela, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, Your Excellency Madame Nardos Bekele Thomas, Chief Executive Officer of the African Union Development Agency, AUDA-NIPAD, Your Excellency Dr. Jan Kaseya, Director General of the Africa CDC, Your Excellency Ambassador Marie-Antoinette Roscatre, Chief Executive Officer of the African Peer Review Mechanism, APRM, Your Excellency Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs of the Republic of South Africa, former Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Your Excellencies, heads of United Nations specialized agencies and international organizations here present. سعادة نائب الأمين العام لجامعة الدول العربية ممثل الأمين العام. Your Excellency Luis Moshikiu Abo, Secretary General of the International Organization of La Francophonie. Your Excellency Dr. Warkena Yibihu, Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD. Your Excellencies, heads of COMISA, ECOWAS, SINSAT, EAC, ECAS, SADC, and UMMA. Your Excellency Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank Group, a strong believer of the African development and prosperity. Your Excellencies, Dr. Benedict Oki Orama, President of the Afri-Exim Bank. Your Excellency, Dr. Sidi Wildeta, President of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badia. معالي الشيخ شخبوط نهيان آل نهيان وزير الدولة بدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة. Excellencies, permanent observer representatives to the African Union, and Excellencies, representatives of our partners to the African Union. All protocol observed, members of the press, a very good morning to you all. It gives me immense honor and pleasure to welcome you all to the opening ceremony of the 38th ordinary session of the AU Assembly of Heads of States and Governments, being held today at the Nelson Mandela Hall, the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, the capital of Africa. Addis Ababa, a vibrant city that has been at the heart of the Pan-African diplomacy and multilateralism, stands as a symbol of Africa's unity and progress. As a host nation of the African Union, Ethiopia plays a crucial role in fostering continental dialogue and advancing African integration. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the 38th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of States and Governments of the African Union holds significant importance, as it will oversee the elections of the chairperson and the deputy chairperson of the African Union Commission. Over the past years, the African Union has made remarkable progress in conflict resolution, mediation, and peacekeeping efforts, contributing to greater stability across the continent. Economic transformation has been further strengthened through the African Continental Free Trade Area and accession to the G20, contributing towards the implementation of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, having said so, the program of today's opening ceremony will stand as follows. We will have a statement by His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, followed by a statement by His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, following which a statement by His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. We shall then have a statement by His Excellency Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine. Then His Excellency Mahmoud will Sheikh Al-Ghazwani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and Chairperson of the African Union, will make his opening remarks. Immediately after that, we will call the Dean of African Ambassadors in Ethiopia to introduce the new bureau, members of the African Union Assembly, following which we shall have the handover ceremony for the chairperson of the African Union. Then we will go to the launch of the African Union theme of the year, Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. Without any further ado, I have the great honor and privilege to invite His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, President Mohammed Ould, outgoing Chairperson of the African Union, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, outgoing chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, distinguished ministers, ambassadors, diplomats, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ethiopia, the cradle of Pan-Africanism and a proud champion of African unity and freedom. It is an honor to stand before you today as we reflect on the immense potential we hold, not just as individual nations, but as a united and dynamic continent. In a world marked by rapid change and multiple challenges, we find ourselves at a crossroads of uncertainty and opportunity. This moment calls upon us to strengthen our collective resolve, embrace resilience, and foster unity across Africa. The theme for this year's assembly calls on us to heal the scars of historical injustice and overcome lingering trauma that has long hindered our progress. The demand for reparations is not about charity or financial aid. It is a call for justice. It seeks to restore the dignity of millions and heal the deep scars of poverty, inequality, and discrimination. It demands an end to the systematic exploitation of our wealth, resources, and opportunities. It also calls for a transformative process that acknowledges past harms and takes bold steps to right the wrongs caused upon us, upon society across the continent. Thank you. Thank you. Most importantly, the call for reparations requires not just words, but concrete actions to affirm the equal worth of every human being. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to achieve lasting peace, justice, and prosperity, we must rise above the geopolitical tensions and the historical divisions imposed upon us by colonial borders. By fostering solidarity among all of our nations and embracing a shared destiny, we can pool our resources and talents to unlock our continent's full potential. Africa's cultural, ethnic, and linguistic diversity is a source of pride and strength upon which we must build inclusive governance and equitable development. Conflict resolution, diplomacy, and peace building must remain at the heart of our efforts. By championing African solutions to African challenges, we can secure lasting peace and stability. Let us celebrate our achievements in politics, science, economics, and arts. Strategic initiatives such as the African Continental Free Trade Area give us the tools to boost intra-Africa trade, reduce external dependency, and achieve self-reliance. With Africa's large and dynamic use, abundant natural resources, and growing technological innovations, we have all the means to ensure sustainable growth. The rapid advancement of artificial intelligence, particularly generative AI, offers unprecedented opportunities to transform our economies and societies. By collaborating in AI, fintech, renewable energy, and mobile technology, we can address shared challenges such as climate change infrastructure gaps, and public health crisis. Africa's rich and diverse data sets are essential for training robust and inclusive AI models. This highlights the importance of African representation in shaping future technologies. However, as we embrace these advancements, it's essential to protect our data sovereignty, prevent digital exploitation, and develop homegrown AI solutions that reflect African values and contexts. As our data sets grow, so must our capacity to harness them for local and global good. When used responsibly, AI can be a powerful tool in conflict prevention, transparent governance, and inclusive development. Africa must actively participate in the global technology race to ensure we are competitive players in the evolving digital landscape, while also ensuring we benefit equitably from this technological revolution. Furthermore, Africa's voice on global issues must grow stronger, ensuring that we have a say in shaping governance frameworks and other much-needed reforms in the global order. By empowering grassroots movements, youth networks, and educational programs focused on digital literacy and technological innovation, we can inspire the next generation. This will ensure Africa stands not just as a beneficiary of a global advancement, but as a key contributor in shaping the future of humanity. Excellencies, the opportunities before us are immense. Ethiopia is determined to prosper, guided by a vision of vibrant democracy, sustainable economic growth, rich cultural heritage, social progress, and a deep commitment to environmental regeneration. To realize this goal, we have laid out a pragmatic roadmap rooted in the transformative principles of Madamar. Madamar, an Amharic term loosely translated as synergy, is our guiding philosophy. It is a homegrown ideology that promotes prosperity, unity, sovereignty, security, and national dignity. At its core, Madamar encourages social and economic advancement, celebrates diversity, and nurtures a spirit of community grounded in Ethiopia's rich culture, spirituality, and values. Reflecting on the progress of the past 5 years and building on the vision of Madamar, Ethiopia has made remarkable strides. Despite inheriting a nation deeply divided along ethnic lines, burdened by substantial debt, and facing numerous internal challenges, we have moved forward with determination. At the same time, we navigated a complex and ever-changing regional and international landscape. Yet, through resilience and cooperation, we continue to move closer to the realization of our shared vision of prosperity. Our achievements speak for themselves. Allow me to share a few highlights. We have reformed our political system, transforming into an inclusive multi-party framework that reflects the diversity of our nation. To deepen these reforms and foster cohesion, reconciliation, and peace, we are undertaking a national dialogue. On the economic front, we have built a resilient and diverse economy. Over the past 5 years, We have doubled our cultivated land, increasing crop production to nearly 700 million quintals, with the wheat accounting for 40% of this total. These efforts have strengthened food security and driven rural development. Today, Ethiopia is the largest wheat producer in Africa. Thank you. Through collective efforts, we have reduced external debt by over 50%, double both GDP and GDP per capita, and tripled government revenue in 5 years, with an 8.1% growth reported in the most recent fiscal year. Across the country, our major cities are evolving into dynamic, culturally rich, and sustainable hubs. In education, we have established 40,000 kindergartens and primary schools to boost early childhood education. Additionally, we have launched a program to train 5 million coders to strengthen our digital economy. Furthermore, we strive to honor our heritage by restoring national sites, developing tourist destinations, and reclaiming cultural artifacts, fulfilling our duty as the guardians of our nation's treasures. These accomplishments reflect the unwavering spirit and resilience of the Ethiopian people and underscore our firm commitment to advancing Ethiopia's future. With its focus on unity, cooperation, innovation, and shared progress, Madamar can serve as a guiding framework for our Pan-African agenda. By embracing its principles, we can forge a path toward a more just, equitable, and prosperous future for all Africans. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let us march forward with determination, harnessing the limitless potential of our continent and its people. The time is now to claim our future, build a legacy of equality and prosperity, and secure dignity for all. Let us be the generation that unites the continent and our diaspora in a shared vision of justice, prosperity, and peace. To conclude, I thank our outgoing chairperson, President Muhammad Ould, for his leadership and representing our organization on the global stage. Allow me to also warmly congratulate our newly chairperson, President Joao Lorenzo, and wish him success during his tenure. I would also like to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed for his exemplary leadership as chairperson of the African Union Commission over the past 8 years. Throughout his tenure, His Excellency Musa Faki has shown unwavering commitment to Africa's development, peace, and integration, significantly strengthening the African Union's role in addressing the continent's challenge. I also extend my sincere thanks to him for being a steadfast friend of Ethiopia, supporting us not only during our times of success, but also in our moments of difficulty. Thank you, my brother. As we bid farewell to His Excellency Musa Faki, it is with great pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to our incoming chairperson of the African Union Commission here in Ethiopia. I am confident that under his leadership, we will continue to make great strides toward achieving our collective goals. I wish him every success during his mandate. Thank you for your attention, and I wish us all a fruitful summit. God bless Ethiopia. God bless Africa. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement, and thank you for the generous hospitality extended to our Excellencies, heads of states and governments, as well as distinguished delegates. Thank you. And now allow me to invite with great honor and pleasure His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Excellences, Monsieur Mohamed Ould-Cheikh Al-Ghazouani, Président de la République islamique de Mauritanie, Président en exercice de l'Union africaine, Excellence Dr Abiy Ahmed, Premier ministre de la République d'Éthiopie, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État, de gouvernement et de délégation, Excellences, Monsieur Mahmoud Abbas, Président de l'État de Palestine, ma très chère sœur amie Mia, Premier ministre de Barbados, Excellence, Monsieur Antonio Guterres, Secrétaire général des Nations Unies, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Docteur Nkosazana Zuma, ancienne présidente de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Madame la vice-présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs les commissaires, Mesdames et Messieurs les secrétaires généraux et exécutifs des communautés économiques régionales et mécanismes régionaux, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs exécutifs des organes et institutions spécialisées de l'Union africaine, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs des missions diplomatiques, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs. C'est à la fois avec un grand honneur et un immense plaisir que je m'adresse à vous aujourd'hui pour la dernière fois en ma qualité de président de la Commission de l'Union africaine. Je voudrais tout d'abord, puisque nous sommes encore au début de l'année nouvelle 2025, présenter à vos excellences, vos familles et vos peuples, au nom de tous les personnels de l'Union africaine, mes meilleurs vœux de santé, de prospérité et de succès. Je voudrais aussi exprimer mes sincères remerciements aux présidents en exercice avec lesquels j'ai successivement travaillé ces 8 dernières années. J'ai nommé dans l'ordre de leur présidence Alpha Condé, Paul Kagame, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Cyril Ramaphosa, Antoine Félix Tshisekedi, Macky Sall, Azali Assoumani et Mohamed Ould-Cheikh Al-Ghazouani. En cet instant de remembrance, je ne peux oublier le président Idriss Déby Itnou, paix à son âme, qui, en africaniste convaincu, a eu l'initiative de ma candidature à la tête de la Commission et qui s'est investi sans compter pour un tel destin pour moi. Sa mort tragique a été ma plus atroce douleur de ce double mandat. Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, 8 ans se sont écoulés depuis mon élection fin janvier 2017 comme président de la Commission de l'Union africaine. En ces moments chargés d'historicité, de signification et de symboles, je voudrais m'acquitter du devoir moral de vous présenter les grandes lignes du bilan de ce double mandat. Grâce à ces parcours, je me suis profondément imprégné à la fois de ce qui fait la grandeur et le rayonnement de notre continent, de notre organisation continentale, ainsi que des pesanteurs et limites diverses ayant entraîné le rythme de nos cadences. J'ai sillonné ce beau et fantastique continent. J'éprouve une profonde fierté d'avoir visité au moins une fois tous les 55 membres de notre Union. L'opportunité que m'offre ce moment est historique et unique. J'y tenterai de m'acquitter de la double obligation de rendre compte et de m'interroger sur quelques problématiques en ayant bien conscience qu'il ne faut absolument pas abuser de votre temps si précieux. Un rapport consolidé de notre bilan et un rapport annuel vous ont été distribués conformément à notre réglementation. Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les rapides et intenses bouleversements géopolitiques qui ont caractérisé le contexte international durant mes deux mandats ont eu des manifestations à la fois violentes et déstabilisatrices. La subite dégradation de la situation sanitaire consécutive au déclenchement de la Covid-19 s'est accompagnée malheureusement d'importants chocs et de profondes turbulences économiques et diplomatiques. Pour l'Afrique, cela s'est traduit par une aggravation du poids de la dette, de la baisse des flux d'investissement publics et privés, de la violence et de la prégnance de certains conflits africains, de l'affaissement du panafricanisme et des chaînes de solidarité africaines, des manifestations d'obsolescence des institutions africaines, des appétits extérieurs en Afrique, des déficiences patentes en matière de gouvernance et de leadership en Afrique et même dans le monde, de la crise du multilatéralisme post-Seconde Guerre mondiale, etc., etc. La guerre russo-ukrainienne, enclenchée en février 2022, est venue noircir davantage ces tableaux, annonçant une recomposition géopolitique mondiale. Est née une ligne de fracture qui a suscité une forme de bipolarité qui, dans les imaginaires politiques, évoque la réalité pourtant théoriquement dépassée de la guerre froide. Des incertitudes profondes sur la soutenabilité de la paix et de la coopération internationale ont empoisonné les esprits, assombri les consciences et ont renforcé le pessimisme, les égoïsmes et le pragmatisme mercantile. Les conséquences de cette guerre ont profondément affecté l'Afrique, qui importait l'essentiel de sa consommation céréalière et ses intrants agricoles de ces deux pays, la Russie et l'Ukraine. Le spectre de l'insécurité alimentaire et sanitaire a plané sur bien de nos pays, dont un bon nombre continue de souffrir de leur fragilité structurelle. أصحاب الفخامة والمعالي السادة سيداتي وسادتي، وفي الشرق الأوسط فإن الشعب الفلسطيني الشقيق عانى ويعاني أبشع أنواع الظلم في التاريخ البشري. إن الحرب الفظيعة والجائرة التي دمرت كل شيء في فلسطين وخاصة في غزة، واستمرار حرمان هذا الشعب من حقوقه الأساسية في الاستقلال والسلام والوجود والحياة بكل بساطة، لا تشكل عاراً جسيماً لكل الإنسانية. ورغم ذلك كله ظل الشعب الفلسطيني البطل صامداً، كما ظل الاتحاد الإفريقي في جانبه بكل قوة وحزم. هنيئا لك يا أخي الرئيس أبو مازن. Ces paysages d'apocalypse qu'offre aujourd'hui la Palestine, la bande et la population de Gaza en particulier, après plus d'une année de guerre destructrice de toute forme de vie et de biens, continue de se dérouler dans le silence presque total des puissances du monde, si ce n'est l'appel par certains à la déportation systématique des Palestiniens hors de leurs terres. C'est le comble. C'est vraiment le comble. Ce drame inouï pèse aujourd'hui, malgré le cessez-le-feu et la libération des otages et prisonniers, facilitée par le Qatar, l'Égypte et les États-Unis, sur la conscience universelle et questionne profondément sur notre humanité. Les taux de la mondialisation avancée, étouffante, déshumanisée, ne laissent point l'Afrique en dehors d'élites hégémoniques qui se déroulent loin de sa terre. Bien au contraire, le continent en subit les débordements et fragmentations que traduisent les conflits par procuration, des soutiens des puissances extérieures à peine voilées aux parties belligérantes sur le continent, des expansions du terrorisme et de l'extrémisme violent, des poursuites de la guerre ravageuse au Soudan, à l'est de la République démocratique du Congo, des divisions de la Libye dont je salue l'adoption hier ici même de la charte de réconciliation. Félicitations à vous, Monsieur le Président Danou Sassou Nguesso. Les tensions de tous ordres au Sahel, au bassin du lac Tchad, au golfe de Guinée, au Mozambique, à la Corne de l'Afrique et dans la région des Grands Lacs sont un autre pan de ces chapelets embrasiers des crises africaines. Les flux de réfugiés politiques, économiques, environnementaux et autres personnes déplacées internes viennent accentuer la situation sécuritaire, alimentaire et sanitaire déjà fragile de nombreux États membres. C'est à ce contexte mondial et régional fortement dégradé que nous avons été confrontés au cours des 8 dernières années de développement de notre action. Excellences, Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, la réforme institutionnelle de notre Union entamée en 2017 ambitionnait la création de conditions optimales pour garantir la poursuite efficiente des programmes inscrits dans notre boussole doctrinale stratégique, l'agenda 2063, aux fins d'une meilleure résistance aux défis ainsi identifiés. À ce titre, la reconfiguration du leadership de la Commission, un processus d'évaluation des performances du personnel, des rapports de collaboration plus étroits entre l'Union africaine et les communautés économiques régionales et mécanismes régionaux, actés par un nouveau protocole, l'institutionnalisation d'un sommet de coordination dédié à l'intégration, la mise en place des groupes techniques R10 et F15 chargés de veiller à la qualité des ressources humaines recrutées et au respect des règles d'or de la gestion budgétaire, financière et comptable de l'Union ont été les points saillants de cette réforme. Une évaluation de la pertinence de tous les organes de l'Union, sans exception aucune, fera naître une nouvelle cartographie administrative et institutionnelle de l'Union. J'insiste ici, en particulier, sur 3 parmi ces organes. Le Parlement panafricain, le Conseil de paix et de sécurité et le Comité des représentants permanents. Le mouvement d'ensemble de la réforme, avec ses ombres et lumières, confirme sa pertinence et sa nature nécessairement progressive à se déployer sur le long terme. C'est une exigence d'adaptation perpétuelle des structures de notre Union aux évolutions qui caractérisent le monde. Je voudrais ici remercier les présidents Paul Kagame et William Ruto pour leurs remarquables efforts pour faire avancer cette réforme. Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, l'évaluation de la première décennie de mise en œuvre de l'agenda 2063, couvrant la période allant de 2014 à 2023, révèle les progrès sectoriels accomplis dans notre marche vers la construction de l'Afrique que nous voulons. Il est crucial d'en tirer les vraies leçons et de procéder aux ajustements pertinents subséquents. Dans le domaine de la santé, c'est une approche holistique, traduite sur le terrain à travers des actions auréolées de succès. Avec la survenance de la pandémie de la COVID-19, Africa CDC s'est affirmée comme l'instrument le plus efficace de la lutte contre toutes les maladies. La préoccupante question du financement de la santé continue de nous préoccuper. 2 mécanismes de financement de la couverture sanitaire universelle et celle de la lutte contre la malnutrition sur le continent ont été conçus. Grâce au Centre africain des vaccins vétérinaires, PANVAC, dont le nouveau laboratoire de production de vaccins a été inauguré en février 2024, une avancée significative dans le domaine de l'élevage, de la santé animale et du développement socio-économique a été réalisé. L'Agence africaine des médicaments, AMA, a commencé l'installation de son siège à Kigali et ses activités sont sur la rampe de lancement. La médecine traditionnelle a bénéficié de l'élaboration de 2 plans décennaux, le dernier courant de 2025 à 2035. Le champ de l'éducation a été animé par la volonté de concevoir un nouveau système éducatif pensé en fonction des exigences d'un monde où l'enjeu majeur est devenu la compétition autour de l'innovation scientifique, technologique et maintenant par l'intelligence artificielle. C'est en cohérence avec cette âme que des stratégies diverses et complémentaires ont été développées, notamment lors de la conférence de Nouakchott de l'année 2024, initiée par la présidence en exercice de la Mauritanie, en collaboration avec la Commission de l'Union africaine et d'autres partenaires, dont l'UNICEF et l'UNESCO en particulier. La centralité des problématiques genre et jeunesse a été affirmée. Les envoyés spéciaux femmes et jeunes se sont bien implantés dans l'univers institutionnel du leadership de l'organisation. Tout au long des 8 années de ce double mandat, bien d'autres domaines cruciaux ont retenu toute l'attention qu'ils méritent, de par leur importance pour le développement socio-économique de l'Afrique. Qu'il s'agisse de notre vision sur les questions minières, du programme détaillé de l'agriculture et de l'économie bleue, du développement des infrastructures et de l'énergie, du changement climatique avec l'adaptation et la résilience climatique du continent, de l'intégration régionale à travers la mise en œuvre de la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine, de l'opérationnalisation effective du Fonds de la paix qui a dépassé l'objectif de 400 millions de dollars, du traitement des crises humanitaires dont l'Afrique est l'épicentre avec la mise en place de l'Agence africaine humanitaire, du renforcement de la visibilité de l'Union africaine à travers notre partenariat avec les Nations unies. Tous ont été au centre de notre entreprise collective. Je profite de l'occasion pour rendre ici un hommage tout particulier à un artisan majeur de ces partenariats. J'ai nommé Antonio Guterres, un grand ami de l'Afrique. Merci Antonio. L'accession de l'Union africaine au G20 et les BRICS, dont plusieurs États africains sont membres, est venue couronner cette visibilité. Sur toutes ces questions, les structures spécialisées de l'Union africaine et les États membres ont mené des réflexions approfondies et tracé des perspectives claires pour certaines et rendu concrètes bien d'autres. Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, il y a quelques mois, j'ai adressé à vos Excellences une lettre relative à quelques urgences centrales dans le devenir de notre Union et de ses capacités de réaliser au mieux possible nos objectifs. Je pense ici d'abord au Conseil de paix et sécurité, évoqué plus haut. Son rôle devrait s'accomplir sur la base des textes qui régissent son fonctionnement, dont il tire la force et la légitimité de concevoir, d'encadrer les questions prégnantes de notre sécurité collective et d'imposer, si nécessaire, les sanctions requises le cas échéant. Il est fort regrettable que ces décisions soient parfois contraires à nos principes et lorsqu'elles ne le sont pas, restent souvent lettre morte. Les décisions de cet organe continental central ne sauraient être considérées avec désinvolture et négligence par les États membres, ni par une conception et des pratiques biaisées des communautés économiques régionales au nom du principe galvaudé d'une subsidiarité interprétée de façon intéressée et partisane. L'évocation du CPS renvoie à la question des changements non constitutionnels du gouvernement. À cet égard, j'ai mentionné dans la dite lettre que nous n'avons plus désormais que 2 options. Soit abandonner les principes qui régissent actuellement cette problématique, soit les appliquer sérieusement, quitte à les réviser et les adapter à nos besoins et réalités nouvelles. Nous ne pouvons, pour notre crédibilité, continuer à ressasser telle une litanie ces principes tout en les piétinant ou acceptant leur flagrante et constante violation. Il n'y a rien de plus corrosif de notre crédibilité qu'une telle attitude qui a conduit ces derniers temps à une véritable défiance vis-à-vis des règles et principes et fragiliser l'intégration dans une partie du continent. J'ai mentionné également le marasme persistant et paralysant de notre insupportable division en matière de représentation en relation avec nos partenariats dits stratégiques. J'appelais ici encore à choisir l'une des deux options qui s'y présentent pour nous et dont j'ai présenté clairement les termes dans ma lettre. J'avais également mentionné la question récurrente du financement de l'organisation, laquelle paradoxalement contraste avec les tendances continues de multiplication des organes sans souci de leur financement. Une organisation indépendante et gardienne de notre liberté et de notre souveraineté ne saurait se construire par le financement d'autrui. J'avais également soulevé la réduction privative d'initiative du président de la Commission de l'Union africaine et appelé à son harmonisation avec les obligations légales et coutumières qui s'imposent désormais à lui. En somme, l'essence de ma correspondance est simple et peut-être brutale. C'est la question d'être dignement ou ne pas être de notre organisation, placée devant une terrible conjugaison de facteurs de complexité. Ce sont toutes ces questions auxquelles vous faites face aujourd'hui que j'ai voulu pudiquement poser dans ma lettre. Allons-nous enfin ouvrir les yeux sur le sort de notre organisation ou alors continuer à la laisser se lamenter et gémir? Excellence, Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est une vérité banale aujourd'hui d'affirmer que les concepts et les instruments juridiques servant de cadre d'analyse des dynamiques de la politique internationale contemporaine sont périmés. Ils ont perdu leur vertu à la fois structurante et explicative des phénomènes mondiaux actuels. Un tel constat explique pourquoi les débats portent aujourd'hui sur les modalités d'avènement d'une nouvelle gouvernance économique et politique mondiale. L'Afrique ne peut rester muette et inactive. Elle doit impérativement se jeter dans la bataille pour se tailler sa place propre dans les configurations en cours de recomposition. Ce n'est pas facile. Cela demandera de l'ingéniosité, de la créativité, de la méthode, du courage. Plus généralement, cela demandera une vraie rédemption pour un réveil de la conscience et de l'âme du panafricanisme. Celui de la conscience de notre africanité, celui de la fierté de notre africanité, celui de l'attachement à notre africanité, celui du rejet de notre dépersonnalisation et de notre servilité nihiliste, de notre identité et de notre être. C'est à quoi nous appelle la jeunesse africaine. Celle-ci, majoritaire dans tous nos États, est de plus en plus exigeante. Sa voix résonne de plus en plus fort grâce aux nouvelles formes de communication qui amplifient toutes les expressions. Cette jeunesse africaine nous interpelle et nous fait constamment un procès en déphasage de ses aspirations, qui sont celles d'une Afrique ouverte sur elle-même et unie, souveraine dans ses politiques et choix, debout et solidaire. Cette solidarité a toujours été notre planche de salut dans notre combat contre le colonialisme et l'apartheid et le parachèvement de notre indépendance. Nous venons de nous incliner sur la mémoire d'un de ces grands combattants, Sam Nujoma. Ça doit nous rappeler quelque chose, mesdames et messieurs. La foi dans notre solidarité panafricaine a galvanisé nos consciences, nos volontés et nos intelligences pour nous conduire vers un destin commun plus prometteur. Il n'y a pas de nouvelle voie de notre futur que d'écouter et de donner corps aux aspirations de notre jeunesse, nos concitoyens et notre diaspora. Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, je quitte définitivement mes fonctions dans quelques jours. J'avoue que je me sens envahi par un doux sentiment de liberté qui m'autorise ces quelques mots venant du cœur. Le premier est un mot de profonde gratitude à vos excellences pour la confiance que vous m'avez accordée en m'élisant pour 2 mandats successifs, président de la Commission de l'Union africaine. Soyez assurés que j'ai mesuré, et je mesure toujours, toutes les dimensions de cette confiance et du lourd poids de la gratitude et la reconnaissance subséquente. Le deuxième mot porte sur l'autre et moi. Dans cet autre, je pense d'abord à nos partenaires, surtout ceux qui nous ont offert une amitié sincère et une coopération mutuellement avantageuse. Je voudrais les remercier tous et leur exprimer notre gratitude. Je pense ensuite à vous ici présents, ainsi qu'à ceux qui nous ont quittés pour différentes raisons. Nous avons réalisé de bonnes et grandes choses, et surtout avons, autant que faire se peut, respecter une certaine éthique et une ligne de conduite que nous croyons conforme à nos principes et objectifs. Veuillez accepter toute ma reconnaissance. Les membres de la Commission de l'Union africaine, d'autres hommes et femmes ensuite, y ont travaillé, souvent dans l'ombre, avec assiduité, dévouement, discipline et talent. Je voudrais leur rendre l'hommage qu'ils méritent. Le troisième mot est relatif à mes propres limites. J'ai tant voulu faire vite et mieux au cours des 2 mandats que vous m'avez confiés. Je sais que je n'ai pas tout fait. Peut-être ai-je sous-estimé la lourdeur de la tâche et le poids des pesanteurs. Je sais que j'ai peut-être commis des erreurs. Je ne devrais peut-être pas dire peut-être. J'ai certainement commis des erreurs. Peut-être ai-je ici ou là faibli ou m'étais trompé et manqué des occasions de faire mieux. Je voudrais m'en excuser et demander pardon si mes manquements ont causé un quelconque tort individuel ou collectif. Le 4e mot est relatif à mon sentiment de l'instant. Je suis heureux de reprendre ma liberté. Mais je sais que j'aurai aussi la nostalgie des lieux, des femmes et des hommes que j'y ai connus, du peuple éthiopien à la civilisation millénaire. À vous, mon cher Dr Abiy Ahmed, Betam Amesegnalem. Peut-être faudra-t-il écrire l'histoire de tout cet enchevêtrement de sentiments et de sensations. Enfin, mon 5e mot est celui de mon serment, de continuer à servir, de penser à l'Afrique, à servir l'Afrique, à rêver pour elle, pour sa jeunesse à laquelle nous n'avons pas fait suffisamment et à laquelle nous devons faire beaucoup, car après tout, c'est elle qui compte aujourd'hui et davantage demain. Un mot de la fin à vous, Monsieur le Président et cher frère Mohamed Cheikh Al-Ghazouani, pour vous dire combien j'ai apprécié votre proximité tout au long de votre mandat. Vous avez été un maître de sagesse, de civisme et de hauteur, inspirant à tous égards. À vous, Monsieur le Président et cher frère João Lourenço, je me permets de souligner que la force tranquille que vous symbolisez me rassure sur une présidence en exercice de sérieux et de substance. Puissiez-vous tous les deux en particulier, et nous tous, avoir une pensée agissante pour les grands prisonniers du Sahel, le président Mohamed Bazoum, dont rien ne justifie l'interminable détention. Il doit être libéré sans condition. Plein succès à notre sommet, plein succès à notre prochain leadership. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your statement. Thank you for your unwavering commitment. Thank you for dedication towards Africa's peace, development, and unity. Thank you very much. I will now have the honor to invite His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary Commitment. Thank you for dedication towards Africa's peace, development, and unity. Thank you very much. I will now have the honor to invite His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Monsieur le Président de l'Union africaine,
The chairperson,
all protocol observed. President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, thank you for your leadership in the outstanding exercise of your mandate. Presidente João Lourenço,
President João Lourenço, I commend you and I look forward for the opportunity to work with you as a new chair of the Union.
I also want to give a very special expression of gratitude to the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki, for his 8 years of strong and permanent commitment to multilateralism and impeccable cooperation with the United Excellencies. The partnership between the African Union and the United Nations has never been stronger. Together, we see an Africa booming with hope and possibility. You have a booming, enterprising population, including the largest number of young people in the world. The African Continental Free Trade is poised to turbocharge the region's economy, and calls to address the legacies of colonialism and slavery are growing louder, as reflected in your theme this year, and as reflected in the leadership of so many passionate voices for the liberation of Africa, such as the great Dr. Sam Nujoma of Namibia, whose life we celebrate and whose loss we mourn. The world must never forget that Africa is the victim of 2 colossal and compounded injustices. First, the profound impact of colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade. The roots stretch back centuries, and the bitter fruit continues to affect Africans and people of African descent to this day. Decolonization alone in itself was not a panacea. Politically, the bitter fruit continues to affect Africans and people of African descent to this day. Decolonization alone in itself was not a panacea. Political independence did not free countries from structures based on exploitation and decades of economic, social, and institutional underinvestment. It is high time for reparatory justice frameworks to be put in place. Second, Africa was under colonial domination when today's multilateral system was created and that injustice endures. Look no further than the United Nations Security Council. There is no excuse that Africa still lacks permanent representation in the 21st century. I will keep working with the African Union and all member states to ensure the representation Africa needs and the justice you deserve, including with 2 permanent members of the Security Council. And we will keep pressing together for an international financial architecture that is no longer outdated, dysfunctional, and unfair. Correcting age-old injustices is essential to address here and now challenges. And the good news is that we have many of the solutions we need. Last year, you helped drive that effort at the United Nations with the Pact for the Future. And I thank Africa for its support that was vital to approve the Pact. Our task now is to make those commitments a reality. South Africa's G20 chairmanship could not come at a better time. Let me point to 4 areas for action. First, we must push for peace, security, and alleviating appalling levels of human suffering. Sudan is being torn apart before our eyes and is now home to the world's largest displacement crisis and famine. As we near the holy months of Ramadan, it is time for an immediate cessation of hostilities. And the international community must come together to stop the flow of weapons and the bankrolling of bloodshed. In the Democratic Republic of the Congolese people have been suffering yet again from a brutal cycle of violence. And the fighting that is raging in South Kivu as a result of the continuation of the M23 offensive threatens to push the entire region over the precipice. Regional escalation must be avoided at all costs. There is no military solution. The deadlock must end, the dialogue must begin, and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the DRC must be respected. The conclusions of the recent joint EAC-SADC summit offer a way forward, with a renewed call for an immediate ceasefire and new momentum for regional efforts based on the Luanda and Nairobi processes. Now is the time for swift implementation. And you can count on the continued support of the United Nations, including MONUSCO. In the Sahel, the clear and present threat of terrorism is undermining peace, security, and sustainable development. And in Somalia, we are urging predictable funding for the African Union support and stabilization mission, and I hope that our voice will be heard by the Security Council. And as we gather here in Africa, I know all our minds are also very much on Gaza. A resumption of hostilities must be avoided at all costs. The Palestinian people have suffered too much. I welcome efforts by the parties to abide by the ceasefire agreement and urge action for a permanent ceasefire and the release of all hostages. Peace is possible in the Middle East, and that starts with tangible, irreversible, and permanent progress towards the two-state solution, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security. Excellencies, on all fronts, we stand shoulder to shoulder with the African Union to advance security, stability, human rights, and the rule of
to international legality and the side agreements, including the implementation of the vision based on a two-state solution, mean that we need to end the Israeli occupation that occupies with military power the land of the state of Palestine and its Al-Quds, the eastern part of presidents of the member states of the African Union for the honor bestowed in me for chairing this organization throughout my mandate. I also extend my thanks to the presidents of countries and who are with us to attend this important meeting at the beginning of 2025. This year raises a number of questions. Thank you, Excellencies, heads of government. My chairmanship of the African Union has taken place at an international period that is highly sensitive. This also coincided by our adoption of the second decade plan within the framework of Agenda 2063. It represents a plan for development for member states and the regional economic communities and the various organs of the African Union. By adopting this decade plan, we can see our solid commitment to meet the aspirations of our peoples to have the Africa that we all want, in spite of the obstacles and in spite of all the challenges. And these challenges are tremendous. When I became the chairperson of the African Union, I was fully aware of the volume of the commitment and the responsibility. Today, our world is witnessing various crises. These are where we have more areas of conflict, and tensions have jeopardized relations between countries. They have also jeopardized the values on which the world system has been established since the Second World War. After a particular period of the development of international organizations and our belief in a more just world, the references went back and hopes collapsed, and now there is a revision of the international system in a way and that the contours are not clear. For a number of years, unfortunately, bloodshed continues. Many people found themselves in difficult humanitarian situations. The world has witnessed a level of violence unprecedented since the Second World War. Palestine what Palestine is facing is a good example of this. This global situation is made more complex and complicated by the wars in Africa. These crises, global and continental, have had a negative impact on the efforts of development in our continent, where there are tremendous challenges such as poverty, unemployment, and the weakness of health systems and the weak economic structures, in addition to the impact of climate change, the dissemination of terrorism. All of this is having an impact on peace and security. It is destroying the social fabric of our communities. In my previous speech, I committed myself to work on these challenges, and I worked during my term on respecting the rules and regulations of the African Union. All of this in full harmony with the AU Commission and the regional economic communities and the regional organs. Our aim was to consolidate the efforts of peace and to reach peace on the basis of dialogue by supporting the valuable efforts made by Excellency Ngasso, President Ngasso, at the head of the African High-Level Committee on Libya. I also continued work with President Paul Kagame and President Tshisekedi to deal with the situation in Eastern DRC. In 2024, Mauritania hosted the third meeting to consolidate the peace initiative in Sudan. We also met General Al-Burhan on the 13th and the 14th of January 2025, and the aim was to end the hostilities in Sudan and to protect its peoples and territories. In spite of the efforts made by the Union and the regional economic communities and the member states, the establishment of comprehensive peace in our continent remains to be achieved. Therefore, I call for the implementation of the decisions made by the Malabo decisions in 2022. On the basis of the work of the PSC, and this can be done in at 4 levels: harmonization, financial sustainability. All of this will meet the ongoing security challenges. All of this will enable us the possibility to explore more effective solutions to achieve peace and security. We need to identify the appropriate mechanisms that should enable us to settle the challenges of peace and security. In this context, we need the efforts of each one of us as part of a collective effort in order to meet these challenges. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we gave a great deal of attention to the agenda of development during our term. We endeavored to mobilize resources by organizing or participating in a number of meetings. We organized with His Excellency Samuel Ruto in the Nairobi summit to support the resource mobilization. We consolidated this with our work with President Hassan Ouattara on the occasion of the economic summit held in Abidjan. This represented a landmark in resource mobilization for our organization. The efforts of support have led to renewing the mobilization of resources. We also participated in the work of the to mobilize more resources from Korea for the benefit of development. The volume reached for Africa from $5.5 billion to $10 billion, in addition to $14 billion to finance exports for countries investing in our continent, in addition to the 4th edition of the China-Africa Summit at the level of the heads of state. China declared to devote $50 billion to boost development in our continent. In addition to the efforts made for resource mobilization, we endeavored during our participation in the 7th meeting in Italy and the BRICS meeting in Russia in October. Also in our meeting in Brazil in November 2024, in addition to other events, we endeavored to solve the problem of debt by promoting development. We also called for the review of the support and we called for establishing a new charter for financing development that would be more flexible and sustainable and would lead to the mobilization of resources that are commensurate with development. We also called for a better implementation of plans by the multi-party financial organizations for the benefit of development and to implement our international agenda. In addition to resource mobilization, in order to promote development, we endeavored to turn our resources into an effective and sustainable development that can meet the faced challenges. These challenges have been worsened by the various crises. In this context, and in line with what was indicated, we called for a more flexibility to enable people to access education. In line with the theme for last year, we had this meeting in Mauritania in collaboration with the African Union. A Continental meeting on education and employment of youths. This meeting was held in Nouakchott. The aim was to integrate youth and employment, and to youth represent the majority of the people, and these youths face the dangers of violence, radicalization, and illegal migration. I call upon the summit to adopt the Nouakchott Declaration because it calls for a sustainable education to support peace and security, and to create jobs, and to reduce unemployment and precarity. African youths need an effective educational and training system. They also, like other African citizens, need health systems that enable them to have access to good quality health care. This will enable them to deal with the arising health issues as witnessed in our continent, such as the smallpox, cholera, and the like. In this context, I would like to hail the work carried out by the Africa Disease Center in dealing with the sudden health crisis. I congratulate Dr. Jankaya for the pioneering work done in this regard. Today, I will present a detailed report on this issue. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in line with the Dakar Declaration on food security and the following, we held two exceptional meetings to consolidate the agricultural systems. The first meeting was held in Nairobi in May 2024. It dealt with soil and the use of fertilizers. And in January 25, there was also a meeting in Kampala to develop flexible agricultural systems. A strategy and an action plan were adopted in order to promote a comprehensive agricultural development for the years starting 2026. I invite the summit to adopt the declaration and the action plan, and the same applies to the declaration of Nairobi. The aim is to promote investment and develop agricultural industries. The focus on industry requires that we need to have an energy that is sufficient and at an acceptable cost. We held in Dar es Salaam with Her Excellency Samia Suluhu, and in coordination with the African Development Bank and the World Bank, in last January we held the African Summit on Energy, in order to promote access to electricity for millions of Africans in sub-Saharan countries. there were a number of energy pledges. In this regard, I call for extending our congratulations to the President of the African Development Bank and the President of the World Bank for their efforts within the framework of this ambitious partnership to support development efforts in the continent. Energy plays an important role in dealing with climate challenges. These climate challenges have a major impact on our countries. There is the issue of global warming, and we need to deploy more efforts for the energy transformation. On your behalf, during the 29th session of the multi-party meeting on climate change, COP29, held in Baku in 2024, we called for the need for the international community to fulfill its commitment and to assist us in dealing with the negative impact of climate change. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the achievement of the second action plan to implement Agenda 2063 is closely related to the coordination between the AU and the regional economic communities. For this reason, in our mid-year coordinating committee in Accra, we focused on integrating our national plans in continental programs to achieve African complementarity and to make its voice heard. This common voice will enable us to have the position that should enable us to effectively participate in the development of international agenda that should focus on sensitive African issues. Therefore, in all these events, we defended the rights of the African continent in its representation in the Security Council. We also called for a review of the international rules of governance. Our efforts were positively met, and there were clear commitments to work on them in the various meetings. But the effectiveness of the follow-up and the joint African work mean that we need to continue the structural transformation of our continent. You all know the questions raised by the structural transformation, such as the principle of alternation and how this is implemented, in addition to the distribution of positions. Because of the sensitiveness of this issue, we held an extraordinary meeting of the Executive Council, during which there was a decision to see how we can apply the principle of alternation to have a just alternation between the regions. In line with this reformist spirit, we worked on the review of the skills within the African Union. An extraordinary meeting of the Executive Council was held in November 2024 to make a decision on the best ways to carry out this operation. Following extensive consultation, the Council identified solutions to this issue. It established a clear roadmap to continue this process. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in my initial speech, I emphasized the need to overcome the challenges, and I indicated that this could only be done by joint efforts on the basis of our common destiny. In order to achieve our noble objectives. Today, I reiterate the same issue as I hand over the chairmanship to His Excellency President João Lourenço, wishing him full success in the mission he is entrusted with. I express my readiness to continue with supporting him. I should seize this opportunity to extend my thanks to Moussa Faki Mohamed, the chairperson of the African Union Commission. I hail his leadership skills. I thank him for his valuable support during my term. I extend my thanks to the members of the African Union Commission and the various organs of the organization. I'm very proud for being able to serve my African continent and to be its voice in international meetings. I end my term fully convinced of the capacity of our continent to achieve the objectives of Agenda 2063. I'm more determined to work more effectively in this regard. I reiterate my congratulations to President João Lourenço. I wish him full success. I wish our summit full success. Long live the African Union. Long live Africa, independent and prosperous. I thank you very much for your attention.
شكرا فخامة الرئيس.
Thank you very much, President, for your statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to invite His Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Mundoha Asumani, Ambassador of the Union of Comoros to Ethiopia and Permanent Representative to the African Union, Dean of the African Ambassadors in Ethiopia, to introduce the new Bureau of the African Union Assembly for this session. Your Excellency.
Excellency Ahmed Al-Ghazani, current President of the African Union and the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Your Excellency Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and government of the African Union states, Your Excellency Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine, Your Excellency the Vice President of Barbados, Prime Minister of Barbados, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellency Moussa Faki Mohamed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Deputy Secretary General of the Arab League of States, heads of delegations, excellencies, ambassadors, permanent representatives and observers of states, excellencies, commissioners, excellencies, heads of African Union organs, invited guests, All protocols observed. Assalamu alaikum. I have the honor of introducing the Bureau of the Conference for 2025 pursuant to Article 16 of the Rules of Procedure of the Conference. The Bureau is as follows. Chair, the Republic of Angola, Southern Region. First Vice Chair, the Republic of Burundi, Central Region. Second Vice Chair, the Republic of Ghana, Western Region. Third Vice Chair, Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Eastern Region. Apologies. Rapporteur, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Northern Region, which is submitted for your approval. Thank you, Excellencies.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and congratulations for the new elected Bureau. I have the honor now to invite Excellency Mohammed Wil Sheikh Al Ghazwani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, to deliver his handover speech. Your Excellency, please.
Je voudrais remercier mes chers collègues.
I wish to thank my peers, heads of state and government, members of the Assembly, for having elected me at the head of the African Union as President for the period 2024-2025. Together, we have worked to advance the integration agenda on the continent. I wish to thank you for all the support and to thank you for the unflinching support that you gave me, contributing to the success of Mauritania and the entire continent in pursuing this lofty task. I will now call upon my brother, President João Lourenço, to hand over the baton, to him, and I wish him success in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now I have the honor to welcome His Excellency João Manuel Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, the new chairperson of the African Union, for the handover ceremony in the high table. You are welcome, Your Excellency.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations, Your Excellency. Allow me now to call His Excellency João Manuel Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, Chairperson of the African Union, to deliver his acceptance speech. Your Excellency. Your Excellency.
So much.
His Majesty Mswati III from the Kingdom of Eswatini, Your Majesty Letsi III from the Kingdom of Lesotho, Your Excellency Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and the outgoing President of the African Union, Excellencies, Heads of States and Government, Your Excellency Abiy Ahmed Ali, Prime Minister of the Democratic and Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of United Nations, Excellencies, representatives of heads of states and governments, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, members, Excellencies, and President Mahmoud Abbas, President of the Palestinian Authority, and our guest of honor, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps accredited in Addis Ababa, ladies and gentlemen. I would like on the outset to deeply thank His Excellency Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed from the Democratic and Federal Republic of Ethiopia and his people for once again, has it always the habit each year in February that they host the most important meeting of the African Union. I would like to thank them for the warm welcome and hospitality that was accorded to us since our arrival in this beautiful country. I would also thank Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and the outgoing President of the African Union for the proactive way, dynamic and proactive way that he led our organization during his tenure. We were able to carry out through his mandate actions that contributed to the achievement of the main objective defined by our organization for the last year that just ended. And we also built educative systems that are strong to allow quality education for African citizens, taking into account the better performance of our continent at the global stage, taking into account the objectives of the Agenda 2063 of the African Union and Agenda 2030 of the United Nations. Excellencies, you are leaving us a great legacy. It's upon us now to continue to work and capitalize on your work that you living for us, and I count on your support and experience, as well as the support of all the other African countries, so that Angola can also undertake a presidency that will be at the level of our expectations, and that we can also add our efforts for the achievement of the development goals of our countries together with the achievement of Agenda 2063 in all our efforts in building the Africa that we want. My thanks are also addressed to all the African countries, but more especially Southern region, for the trust entrusted to us in order to lead in 2025 the African Union at a time when our continent is faced with major challenges related to peace and security, which are a blockage to many initiatives and actions that we want to undertake for the development of our nations. As you all know, it is the first time that Angola is assuming this major responsibility of leading the destiny of our continent in the coming 12 months. But we are going to look attentively to the problems of Africa, and we are going to contribute with our experience to finding solutions to peace and security, and for the implementation by member states of our economic policies, social policies to promote progress and development of our continent. This is very important for us. The fact that we are assuming the chairship of the African Union in 2025 at the time we are also celebrating 50 years of our independence, national independence. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, throughout this conference, many issues will be discussed that are very important for our continent. The working framework of the African Union and the operationalization, the issue related to justice for African and people of African descendants, to true reparations, which is the theme selected for this year, and a theme that Angola also chose for its chairship, which is related to the building infrastructure as a factor for development for Africa. These aspects, if combined, can allow us to build a communication channel and a channel of dialogue with our partners. It will make us understand the importance and the advantage of cooperating for a developed Africa that is industrialized, that is going to win over hunger, misery and unemployment, and reducing the probability of armed conflict and illegal immigration. We will have the opportunity to address all these aspects in our fourth conference for development that is going to take place in Sevilla in Spain from 30th June to 4 July this year. And we believe this is a historical opportunity to redefine the rules of financing based on economic justice and inclusion, taking into account the commitments from previous conferences that were not fulfilled, especially the Monterey Consensus, Doha Declaration, and Addis Ababa Declaration. The fourth Sevilla Conference is going to address the challenges that we are faced in the funding for development and promoting the adoption of innovative solutions and more effective solutions such as fiscal justice, debt relief, climate funding, reforms in financial and global institutions, and social inclusion. These are going to deserve our attention so that we can adopt a common position that can ensure the continent to reinforce its influence in the global governance and the reduction of the cost of the debt, and for a sustainable development of our continent. The achievement of these objectives is going to create synergies that are going to promote more trade, more cultural exchange, and technology, and other aspects that are going to bring benefits for all the parts involved. we believe that in the objective that we aim for our countries, we include issues that are for priorities, especially in fundamental infrastructures, railways, roads, airports and ports, power supply stations that are essential for the industrialization of our continent and to improve the living conditions of our people. During our presidency of the African Union that we are going to assume from today, we hope to work together with all the members of our institutions. We're hoping to launch a plan for together with our partners so that the African Union Commission can be able to establish the basis for infrastructure projects that are going to be undertaken in our continent. We would like to underline the contribution of Angola for the development of Africa, taking into account our superavit when it comes to energy supply, especially in this sector of energy. Given its strategic relevance that it have in the transportation of goods and in African trade between Africa and within Africa, taking into account the Lobito corridor and the Tanzanian railways that we believe are going to play a major role in connecting African countries and in promoting the trade that we want to achieve, especially under the AFCFTA. Taking into account what I've just said, I believe that we should come up with a well-defined strategy in order to yield the benefits. I believe that by integrating G20, it's essential in ensuring that Africa plays an active role in global decisions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the strategic lines of our presidency are aligned in general terms with the priority actions defined by our continent, especially under the acceleration of the implementation of the second 10-year implementation plan of the Agenda 2063, especially covering 2024-2034, centered in transportation infrastructure, connectivity, energy, natural resources, peace and security, agriculture, blue economy, continental integration, and African free trade area and strategic partnerships. In this framework, our major lines of our interventions of major importance is the issue of peace and security, because we believe this is one of the pillars for the materialization of the aspirations of our Agenda 2063 of the African Union, especially the program that aims at silencing the guns by 2030, by transforming Africa in a peaceful region, safe, with a promising future, with prosperity for all Africans, and in placing our continent in the development route. In the reports of our activities, the undertaken as a champion, AU champion for peace and reconciliation in Africa, I made a detailed presentation, the activities that I undertook in helping the achievement of peace in our continent, especially in the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo. I will also present my vision on what I believe that is essential to be taken into account in the future in order to put an end to the conflicts in Africa and in order to address the challenge of unconstitutional change of government, terrorism, invasion, and occupation of neighboring countries. We also have major challenges related to natural disaster resulting from climate changes and Marburg, cholera, and other diseases that are affecting us, and call on us to unite our efforts in order to find collective solutions for their elimination. In this perspective, I believe that it's essential that the third conference on the oceans that is going to take place in France is an opportunity for us to address the main concerns of this topic and that are affecting our continent. With more than 30 coastal countries, our continent will have to protect maritime ecosystems and promote blue economy and undertake more actions against illegal fish, maritime pollution, and against climate changes, which are major challenges that we have to face together permanently. I would like to hope that this conference will contribute to reinforce our coastal resilience and building conditions to mobilize international funding for sustainable projects under the blue economy. Excellencies, this year and during the Angolan presidency, we are going to work in coordination with the African Union Commission to mobilize financial resources through the contributions of our member states in order to be able to have necessary resources for the realizations of projects and programs of continental level and reducing our dependencies for external funding. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are living a global landscape, a very challenging global landscape, especially with the challenge in our continent and in Eastern Europe and Middle East. Despite all that, we are sure that by combining our efforts and joining force, we are going to overcome these challenges and build the Africa that we dream of, contributing in the solution of the problems that are affecting our humanity. It's in this context that I believe that we should continue to act together so that the United Nations will be more inclusive and more aligned to the challenges and opportunities. And the reform of the United Nations should continue to be a priority for our continent, and it is very important to reaffirm our commitment with the consensus of Ezuline and the Sirte Declaration of 2005 for 2 seats as permanent members with the right of veto and other privileges that are related to the seats. Excellencies, I would like to call on you your best contribution so that our presidents of our continental organization that we assume today can take part, can happen in a climate of understanding and the dynamics that is necessary in this long work that we together undertake for the transformation of Africa as a continent that rich and prosperous for its people. Allow me to address my vote of thanks to His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed and the outgoing commissioners that had their mandates at the commission for their excellent work throughout their mandates at the helm of our common house of Africa. I wish to to the new coming Commission successes in their mandates and endeavors. And I appeal that the Pan-African spirit and the ideals of our founding fathers continue to lead the future of our continental organization. I would like to hereby accept to undertake the functions of the chair of the African Union, and that our tears today for having lost the African child, Samuel Nyoma, will be transformed in strength that will help us achieve the challenge that are ahead of us. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in introducing the theme of the year 2025, Justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations, it is now with great honor that I welcome Her Excellency Dr. Monique Nzanza Baganwa, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, who will share her introductory remarks. Your Excellency. Then we will introduce Carlos.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the Chairperson of the African Union, Your Majesties, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency and dear brother, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, allow me to stand on already established protocol. Over the past centuries, the voices of Africans and people of African descent have echoed in various quarters with a singular demand: justice. Justice for the millions who were forcibly uprooted from their homes. Justice for those whose lands were plundered, wealth stolen, and dignity were stripped away. And justice for the generations that continue to face economic, social, and political disenfranchisement stemming from historical wrongs. As I draw my term in office as Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission to an end soon, a unique opportunity is offered to me and one of my teams, SIDO, to introduce to you the 2025 theme of the year, Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. As we embark on this journey in 2025, we are guided by the words of the eminent Pan-Africanist Kwame Nkrumah, who declared, and I quote, "We face neither east nor west. We face forward." The African Union's Agenda 2063 envisions a continent that is integrated, prosperous, and driven by its own citizens, a continent that is peaceful. The strength of this Africa has always been in its unity and resilience. At this moment, we stand at the precipice of history, and together we shall pave the way for a more just and dignified Future for Africa, the CARICOM, and Africa's global diaspora at large. Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, as I conclude, since I'm not the one to deliver the high-level message, we have two leaders who will do it in just a short. But let me take this opportunity to thank all our stakeholders who have journeyed with us. Thank you, Ghana, and our champion, President Mahama, for inspiring the African Union with this theme. I wish to thank you, my dear brother Musa Faki, for your leadership and support. But through you also acknowledge our teams who have worked hard around this theme of the year. Especially I wish to recognize two ladies. Madam Coleman from your cabinet chairperson and Angela from CIDO. You did an amazing work. Special appreciation goes to Her Excellency Mia Amor Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados and Chair of the CARICOM Authority. You have traveled all the way from home to another home to join us in today's launch. May I now invite you, Your Excellency, to come to the podium and address this august assembly. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Your Excellencies, and may I start, Chairperson of the African Union, President of Angola, Your Excellency, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, and our host, Dr. Ababa, Your Excellency, Outgoing Chairperson of the African Union and President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government of the African Union and First Ladies present, Your Excellency, the President of the Palestinian Authority, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, former heads of state and heads of government of the African Union, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and guests all. I stand here clothed in the spirit of the battles of Adwa, conscious that it was that battle within 24 hours that shook the confidence of the powers of Europe, but inspired the people of Africa and the children of the African diaspora that good would prevail over evil and light over darkness, but only in the context of our unity. I stand here conscious that it was that battle that forged the beginnings of Pan-Africanism that eventually led to the movement for independence and the destruction of the colonial powers to give us not full development and power, but the first steps of political independence. I stand here conscious and buffeted by the dreams and works of the great Pan-African pioneers, and conscious that as a children of the Caribbean, we have long dreamt for the moment of unity with our brothers and sisters of Africa, a division that was secured by those whose success and survival depended on separation of us rather than on the ability for us to act as one common people. Our relationship, you can say, was embryonic. But regrettably, as long as it has been and as related as we have been, it has been sporadic. And it is up to us as the children of independent states to determine whether the history of separation shall be our future or whether the spirit of Ababa can be our inspiration to confront the challenges of a new world. Yes, I stand here as a daughter of Africa. I stand here equally as a proud Prime Minister of Barbados, a country which is the first landmass that you reach after you leave this great continent of Africa. A country which became a hub for the wrong reasons, but today I come to Ethiopia to share with you in the Africa Union that we can be a hub now for the right reasons between our two peoples. I stand here as the proud chairman of CARICOM, the Caribbean community, recognizing that as a member of the 6th region of Africa, we have come to reclaim our Atlantic destiny. We have come to ensure that the very futures of our people are different and will not once again be determined by a middleman who will ensure that the Middle Passage is one that sees our people at the bottom of the ocean's floor of the Atlantic or in the fields of the plantations of the Caribbean, but instead that it will be a future that sees our people, hears our people, feels our people, and that will determine in future that it is we who shall forge the manner in which we cooperate, integrate, and invest, rather than simply being victims of a past history. I stand here equally as the chair of the V20, 70 countries across the world that are climate vulnerable, 40% of whom come from this great continent of Africa, recognizing that it is only through unity that we can confront the existential crisis of our generation, that of the climate crisis. The Secretary General of the United Nations has already laid out, ably so, many of the iniquities that we continue to face in spite of political independence. It was His Majesty Haile Selassie who popularized and told us that there shall be no first-class or second-class citizens, words popularized by Bob Marley, learned by all of our people without appropriately recognizing the context in which he spoke and the mission which must be ours for generations until it is achieved. He told us that there would be war if there were first-class and second-class citizens. He told us that there would be war if the color of our skin was more significant than the color of our eyes. And we see here in the continent the continued descent into conflicts, born out of ethnicity differences, born out of a mad grab for resources, not invariably for our own benefit, but for the benefit of others who seek to use our people as pawns in the determination of their own future. But we stand here as proud people, and we have enough among ourselves to know the difference between right and wrong, and to forge a future that is not for a few, but for the many. Indeed, as the world confronts the climate crisis, it is the poorest of the poor who remain the most vulnerable to floods and droughts and hurricanes. It is the poorest of the poor, and soon to be the middle of the middle, who will no longer be able to access insurance and therefore to be able to forge ahead with development if we do not make changes. We have examples of a partnership that have worked for us. not just from the spirit of Adwa and the conquest and the rise of the Pan-Africanist movement in our history, but within recent times. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it was the African Union, under the leadership then of President Ramaphosa, and with the assistance of Dr. Tedros of the WHO, that recognized that the Caribbean, which was being marginalized by denial of access to basic therapeutics, basic medical equipment, to vaccines, that we should not be left as pariahs on the global landscape, but that our brothers and sisters in Africa would bring us through the Africa Medical Supplies Platform to be able to ensure that we could secure for our own people. It was with the solidarity of many of you in the African Union when the Bridgetown Initiative has been able to take root and to make a case for a more modern and a fairer system that allows us to be able to access finance and to be able to put in place measures that allow us to be able to pause up repayment of debt during the period of necessity for rebuilding after horrific climatic events. We have seen how partnership helps us. We do not need any more evidence. What is required of us is to lead the way to peace, to prosperity, and to justice. And the reparations which we call for the international community to be able to recognize, first and foremost, with that which we ask from each of our children. Say sorry. Say sorry. And mean it. And after you say sorry, recognize that the future of the world is not possible without the stability of Africa and its diaspora. For as long as hypocrisy and double standards remain, it will be impossible to secure stability and peace in any nation across the earth. The reparations that we call for, beyond sorry, must be for fair access and development and compensation, because we each started the journey of independence with a chronic deficit. A deficit of resources, a deficit of fairness, a deficit of opportunity. And it is up to us, many of us in the second and third generation of independence, to be able to frame out firmly in a mature conversation what those reparations must look like if we are to attain justice and to inspire the young people of this world that good must always prevail over evil. But it is not only the reparations that we ask from the international community, because we ourselves must repair the damage that was foisted on us. The notion that transit visas, begging for them, must be the lot of our people in order to move across this world cannot be something